Imagine having a mother wound from not one, but two mothers in your life, from your adoptive mother, but also from your birth mother. Imagine having to navigate two mother-daughter relationships that are vastly different and all of the emotions that come with. In today's episode, you're going to get to hear Desiree's story and learn how she has managed just that and where life has taken her and what she experienced inside of both of her mother-daughter relationships. Desiree is known for creating a steady, structured, and supportive environment where clients can slow down, feel understood, and explore their experiences at a pace that feels safe for them. In addition to her clinical work, Desiree is a certified birth doula. This work reflects her deep commitment to honoring the mind-body connection and supporting people through some of the most vulnerable and transformative moments of their lives. Outside of her professional roles, Desiree finds joy in simple, grounding rituals. She loves listening to true crime podcasts, reading romance novels, and taking long walks and baking. So let's just head to the interview and learn some more about Desiree's mother-daughter story. Okay, and we have Desiree here with us today. I'm so excited that she's here to share her story. Tell the listeners a bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Desiree, and I live in Dallas, Texas, and I am a licensed professional counselor associate and a mother to one 3-year-old. And I am from Iowa, a small town in Iowa.
So let's start with this question. I haven't asked this one starting out. What makes your mother-daughter relationship unique?
Oh, goodness. So I think what makes mine so unique is that it wasn't necessarily an adoption, but I was raised by my great aunt and great uncle. Um, and I was a ward of the state starting at the age of 5. So I was born to a teen mom. So that right there is in itself is that she's, young teenager herself. And then at the age of 5, I was taken from my mother and ward of the state. And then my great aunt and uncle got custody of me. And so it's been unique because I've had to navigate the relationship of my biological mother as well as my great aunt, where I've had two mother figures, where I have felt kind of the power struggle between both of them. And I was always been put in the middle. And, and then obviously becoming a mother myself, realizing the things that my mom went through, I'm like, wow, like she didn't know any better. And then also too, becoming a mother myself, realizing my aunt didn't know any better either. So it's been a full circle moment for me, now that I have a little one of my own. So I feel like that kind of makes it unique where I've had to have two relationship dynamics and navigate both of those at such a young age.
So, do you identify with having a mother wound?
Absolutely.
Would this wound include both of your mothers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable sharing what happened and why you were removed from your mom's care and she lost custody?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, my mom, she got pregnant at 17, had me at 18, and I was with her until I was 4 or 5. Things kind of got rocky with my biological father. She left him when I was like 2, 3, and we bounced from friend to friend, relative to relative. We never really were stable at all. And then she had met her husband, Michael, and their relationship was very tumultuous, toxic, and ended up becoming very abusive to her, to both of us. And when I'm little, I'm just like running my mouth all the time and saying, oh, mommy's boyfriend is doing this and mommy's boyfriend's doing that to us. And my family caught wind of it when we were there visiting, and they went to court and got temporary custody of me and they required my mom to go to parenting classes in order to get me back. And from what I was told from one side of the family, that she never went, but kind of forged the signature of the parenting classes in order to get me back. And then she ended up getting custody of me again, temporary, after she kind of got it together. And then after she got temporary custody of me again, she messed up again, moved around. She was still with Michael. She ended up getting married to him. And then a very, very, very traumatic incident happened where the police were called. We were sent to a women's shelter. He went to jail. And then my aunt and uncle had to come rescue us in the middle of the night in a women's shelter. And I've never left their custody since. My mom left, went back to Michael, had another baby with him. And that was that. And I never went back to live with my mother again. And I was 5 at the time.
That's hard.
Yeah.
The start of your existence, having so much uncertainty.
Very, very uncertain. And now that I'm a mother myself, I could not even imagine, she was really young, right? 20, 21, 22, 23. And I'm like, what was I doing at that age? I was not, right? And then to have your baby taken from you and there's nothing you can do, realizing, looking back at the choices she made, she felt stuck. She felt like she didn't have a choice and she didn't have a voice and there's nothing she could do. She wanted to be chosen by men. And unfortunately, it was a man that, wasn't the best for us. But she wanted her family. So I get it.
Do you have a relationship with her today? And also, do you have a relationship with that sibling?
I do have a relationship with my mother. And I have a relationship with all 3 siblings. She had 3 kids after me. So all 3 of them, I do have a relationship with all 3 of them. Yes. And it's been rocky. Very, very, very tumultuous relationship with my mother. But I would say in the last 5 years, it's been the best it's ever been. Same with my sister and my 2 younger brothers. She's went and got help herself. She, likes to say her frontal lobe developed older. She's like, I'm older now. I'm not with the shenanigans and doing all the things and wanting to be chosen by men. And, she focused really hard on raising her children, my siblings after me. And I can tell a really big difference in her as well. And I think things blossomed even more after I had my baby. And now she's a really good Mimi and likes to call and send gifts and FaceTime and things like that.
So she grew up?
She grew up. Took a while, but she did it. Yeah.
But her frontal lobe just developed and it wasn't there when you were born.
Right.
So how did your aunt and uncle basically rescue you out of a situation that could have ended, I don't know, maybe very badly or just caused more trauma or more harm to you if you had stayed?
Mm-hmm.
What happened with your relationship with your birth mom after basically never returning to her? How did that play out as you grew up? I know you guys have a relationship today, but what was it like as a kid of growing up? Was she around? Did you not see her for a while?
I think I only saw her a total handful of times, maybe less than 3 times, my entire 5 to 18 times when I was, in elementary school. She would call when she could. You could tell when she would call, she'd be going through something because then she would be upset and she would say things to me that would upset me. And then I would be upset for a few days after our phone call. And then at that point, my parents were just like, we need to limit your communication with your mom because it takes you 3 or 4 days to recover from talking to her.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't understand. Of course, now I do. But again, it was very tumultuous. There'd be times where she'd be like, I'm such a horrible mom. And I am so sad that, you're not with me, but, you've got a good life there. And then the next phone call would be, you're so selfish. Why don't you want to live with me? You're so spoiled. And she would hurt my feelings and she'd make me cry and be upset. And then I would be the one like, no, I love you. I want to be with you. And I would, she would ask me to ask questions like, well, can the court change things? Can they try to manipulate the situation? to get me to go back and live with her. It was very rocky. And then my junior year of high school, this is kind of a personal story. To my junior year of high school, I went through a really rough breakup with a boyfriend. And I started restrictive eating and developed disordered eating. And I just spiraled. I became very angry and annoyed and upset. And I was very hurtful to my Aunt Patty and Uncle John. I was saying things. I was skipping school. I was just your rebellious teen. And I think I got online and tried to bought a bus ticket to go down and live with my mom. I was like, I don't want to be with you guys anymore. I don't want to live with you. I'm going to go be with my mom. And so I spiraled even more. They contacted my therapist that I had all growing up. I had a therapist from age 5 up until 18. And she was like, we need to get her admitted. Like, there's something happening. Let's get her on medicine, all the things. And so I was admitted to Blank Children's Hospital psych ward. I was there for about 2 weeks. And that was one of the darkest, saddest that I've had. I was very angry with them for doing that. I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like they thought that I was just this awful person, awful teenager. And so they're just like, okay, fine. You want to go live with your mom? We'll drive you down there. And they drove me down to live with my mom. And I lasted about a month. I called them and I said, I want to come back. And they're like, okay, well, you have some apologizing to do. And so I called my family in Iowa. I had to apologize to several different people. And so I had a little stint of living with my mom in high school. And then after that, I was like, I think I had it. The grass isn't greener on the other side. I don't know. And so Penny and Uncle John let me come back. And I finished out my senior year. And then I went to college. And it was still a little bit tumultuous with my mom. And then it just, as the years progressed, it's just gotten better and better with her.
So her phone calls when you were younger put you in a very adult position. Mm-hmm. Like if you were in any kind of control of her getting you back, when as a child you weren't. You didn't leave because you made the decision to leave.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was going to get when I would answer the phone. Didn't know if I was going to get the happy mom. I didn't know if I was going to get the sad mom. I didn't know if I was going to get the manic mom. And so I learned very early on that I had to manage her emotions and walk on eggshells.
You were taking care of her.
Yes. Yes, I was.
So what was your relationship like with your aunt, with your adoptive mom?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that one also too has been tumultuous as well. And I laugh because I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They had 3 older kids. They had a daughter in college. They had a daughter that had just graduated high school. And then their son was in 8th grade going into freshman year. And then I, this 5-year-old, come live with them. They had already been through it with baby, toddler, little kid years. And so they had the means to do it. They had the means, they had the finances, they had the space, they had the heart to take on a little mixed girl in Iowa to raise me. She was always the disciplinarian. Or that was just kind of how it was, where Uncle John was more like the laid back, chill, shut up so you don't get in trouble. Just keep your mouth shut, just grit your teeth, rub some dirt in it, go on type of man. And she was more the passive aggressive, sometimes aggressive. She's a big yeller type of parent. But then also too, she was the one where I bonded where we would go shopping from sun up to sundown. She would take me to go get my hair done. She would, made sure that I had fun with my friends. And I was, she was a big dance mom. And I was in dance and I was in cheerleading and I was in sports and she made me do piano. And I think I remember one time she told me that I was complaining about going to piano and complaining about going to dance. And I was in Bible, I had Bible school and I was in all these activities. And she had made the comment, she goes, your therapist recommended that we have you in all these activities so you don't miss your mom and that you're not sad.
Okay. Interesting. I get the idea, but what was that like hearing? How'd you feel hearing that?
I don't even know. I'm like, well, I don't think those things are going to help me not miss my mom. They're just distractions.
Yeah.
And I was really young when she said that. I think I was in elementary school when she told me. And then she reiterated again in high school. And by my senior year, I was so freaking burnt out. I didn't even do my high school dance team. I didn't want to do band. I quit piano. I just was like, I am exhausted.
You were overscheduled to keep you from being sad.
Yes. And I still was depressed doing all these things.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, I get the idea,
Yeah.
but the execution of that would have never been successful.
Yeah, I was still depressed. Everyone, when we had like Thanksgiving, we would host Thanksgiving in our house. I would be the one in my room. I'd come out to eat and that's it. I didn't ever really want to do much. It was very hard for me to have friendships with the girls in my class, my graduating class. Very hard for me to have relationships with really anybody.
Because you were depressed, or
Yeah,
why was that?
I think it was depression. It was anxiety. I felt, I don't know. I kind of turned into like a catty little girl. I don't know. I just kind of all, now I think it was probably reactive attachment disorder.
Oh, I mean, not being able to live with your mom and then being pushed into all of these things that you probably didn't really ask for. Maybe you enjoyed it, but you were sad and tired and probably confused.
Yeah.
You described yourself as a little mixed girl. So I'm imagining that you may have been the only one that looked like you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
I was the only Black person within a 30-mile radius. The next Black girl was mixed and she lived a few towns over. And I did do dance with her. We had a few Koreans in my town, maybe one Hispanic, two Hispanic, one Filipino, but that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And even to this day, little tidbit, fun fact, in Iowa, there's not one single Black pediatrician or one single Black OBGYN in the whole state of Iowa.
I guess we kind of expect that.
Right. And I feel like the Black people that are there move there for one, jobs, or two, college. You've got Drake University, Iowa State University, University of Iowa. They're football players, basketball players. So when I went to Iowa State, I was in a culture shock. I'd been seeing.
Now you see more Black people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. More Black people, more, Latino, Muslim, Middle Eastern. I'm seeing everybody. I'm seeing everything.
I mean, yeah. So college would be like representative of the country, but you lived in a part of the country that really doesn't represent the whole country, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to assume, I may be wrong here, but I'm just going to make the assumption your mom is white, if that's your family that adopted you.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Okay.
question. So my biological mother is half white, half Thai. My grandmother, my grandpa was in the Vietnam War, married my grandmother, Wong Duan, brought her over. And they had two kids and they settled down in a little teeny tiny town called Lenox, Iowa. And she worked at a factory her entire life until she retired.
Okay. And how did your mom meet your dad?
My mom was 14, 15. She ran away from home and moved in with my grandpa, who had left my grandmother to go live in California. And she...
The grandmother that he brought from another country.
Mm-hmm. He had an affair with a neighbor. And the next door neighbor and my grandmother were best friends. And he had an affair with her. She maybe had a baby that was 2 months old. She just had a baby. They up and just left. They're both of their families. They just up and left and moved to California. And nobody ever saw or heard from them for a really long time. My mom ended up finding him and moved to California. She went to they lived in Orange County, and she went to a high school in Fountain Valley. And my dad played football at a neighboring school, and they met, and here I am.
And here you are.
Yeah.
So how did you get back to Iowa?
I don't even,
And when did your mom get back to Iowa?
I don't ever get the full story from either one of them. But the last thing I do remember was we were in Texas at the women's shelter when they came and rescued. So we moved around. She moved around so much. She went
Okay.
when she met Michael's family. He had family in Texas, and he had family in Kansas, and he had family in Kansas City. And so I don't know. We lived all over.
Okay. So all of this wasn't happening in Iowa.
No, all of this was happening either Texas or California.
Okay. So Iowa wasn't even your home, but it quickly became your home.
Yes.
And no one around you looked like you. You're in a family that had you met them before they came to get you?
Or twice.
Okay. Well, as a 5-year-old, twice is probably not enough to really know these people.
Not at all. But they were the fun
Man.
aunt and uncle. They were I got Barbie dolls and Barbie houses, and I got to go play on the tractor and go see the cows, and they made it fun.
But visiting and living are two very different things.
Absolutely.
And I mean, they did the right thing. And it sounds like they gave you a great life, but they navigated the things that happened to you in a way that just didn't really help you.
Not at all.
Pushing you into all of the activities to keep you from being sad probably made you sadder, more exhausted, more tired, more frustrated. What was therapy like? So you had therapy from the time you were 5 to you were 18 with the same person?
Yes. Oh gosh, her name was Mary.
What was that like?
I really liked Mary. She again was a white lady, but she understood family violence, which is what I'd come from, and we also lived in a small town where therapy, we had to drive like 2 hours just to go to the town that had a therapist in it. So I didn't get to see her often. But when I did, I really liked it because we got to play the game Sorry. We got to play Uno. And it was just a nice break where I got to complain or be sad. And she'd read a book. I remember this book. She'd read it every time about Papa Bear and the Mama Bear and the Baby Bear. And it was a book about how Papa Bear, would throw chairs and he'd slam things and punch things. And I was like, oh, that's what, I'm used to that. Like, I know that. That's happened to me too. And so I really liked going to her. And then as I got into all these sports and dance and all the things, kind of slowed down. And then I didn't see her again until I had my episode my junior year of high school.
Was she helpful then?
I felt like she betrayed me a little bit by having my parents send me to the psychiatric hospital. I didn't feel like she was on my side. I didn't feel like she understood why I was so angry with my parents and why they wouldn't just let me go live with my mom. Yeah, it made me really sad that she was the one that wrote the referral for me to go. And so I didn't go back to her because I feel like that therapeutic alliance was broken.
You didn't have a say in what was happening. No one was really listening to you.
No.
You were punished when you probably needed more connection.
Absolutely. Yep. It was very hurtful. I know I was hurtful towards them, but when you're a teenager, you don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now that you're an adult, do you look back on that any differently? Or do you still feel the same way?
I think because I'm getting emotional, I think I still feel the same way. It's not something that I've worked through completely. But again, they didn't know what to do either. I think it's easier for me to see it from their point of view now that I'm older, but I still feel betrayed. I still feel sad and hurt.
Yeah. What happened when you were released? You said you stayed for 2 weeks. I've never been admitted myself, but I have had clients that were teenagers that have. So I've heard the stories of what it's like for teenagers when they're admitted. For some, it's things end up being worse. For others, it's like, I learned a lot, but also I learned a lot of bad things from the other teenagers. So all it did was just teach me more things I didn't need to know. So I've heard the stories. What was it like when you were released? Because I imagine the 2 weeks was not very good.
No, it was not very good. But it was like when I was released, it felt as if I was like, okay, I still feel the same. I still want to go live with my mom. I'm still angry, but I need to put on an act so I don't go back there. So I was still making plans to go be with my mom.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell my mom that I was in there. So she had been calling and they took away my phone and she had been calling trying to get a hold of me. And when she found out that they put me there, she was very upset. And so I think it was like maybe a few months later, I kind of like lashed out again. And they're just like, you know what, we've had it with her. Okay, if you want to go, go. And they waited until after my dance competition. So
They wanted you to
they wanted me to participate in my dance competition that morning and that afternoon. She had packed the bags for me. I didn't get to pick anything out. She had already had my bags packed. And then they drove me and they passed the exit to where we lived. And I said, where are we going? And they're like, if you want to go live with your mom, that's where we're going to drop you off at.
They took you to her house? Yeah, you had no idea that was happening. They took you to her house or put you on a bus?
They drove me 6 hours that evening in the middle of the night to her house. So I had to wake up early and do my dance competition all day. I think they had already had it planned. That the dance competition was 2 hours in the opposite direction of where my mom was. They had the bags packed in the back of the car and drove me there after the dance. And didn't tell me
what emotions did you feel, finding that out? So
Yeah.
now you're in the car thinking you're going home.
Honestly, like, excuse my French, I was like, what the fuck? I was so... I think I just started to cry. Because at that point, I was like, well, this is what I've been wanting. But why would you not tell me? Like, I felt, again, betrayed. I felt like they didn't... You let me key with my friends all day.
Yeah. No goodbyes, no preparation.
No.
Again, I imagine this feels like another betrayal, like you're being punished again. Fine, you want to go, you're going right now. You have no say. Get in the car, let's go.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what could have been maybe exciting for you or happy or even a relief of like, I get to go, turns into probably anger and frustration because it's another betrayal.
So angry.
So you lasted a month.
Yeah.
And then you called. So what happened? Was it just not the same life? Was the relationship with your mom not what you expected it to be? What happened while you were there for the month?
It was just chaotic. My little sister was like 10 or 11 at the time. Because I was 16, so she's 12 maybe. And my mom had my two younger brothers. So it was 5 of us living in like a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. The littlest one and my sister I could feel she's like, oh, Desiree's the shiny new object here, but I've been the one that's babysitting my brother. My mom was a waitress, worked in service industry, and was always working doubles, triples, overtime. She's just working nonstop. And my little sister, was in charge of these boys for years by herself. She knew their routines like this. And then I come in, try to help. And that caused a huge rift between me and my little sister. She didn't really like me there. She didn't want me there. And I get it. I wouldn't have wanted, like, this chick's trying to come in and take over the brothers and, all the things. And it just wasn't, I didn't realize how good I had it. I had my own room. I had my own bathroom. I had my car. I had my cell phone. I got to go to, I didn't, again, the grass wasn't always greener on the other side. And so I thought going to a new school and being with my mom and, I got to eat the snacks whenever I wanted at Aunt Pay and Uncle John's. But here it was like they were rationed out and just, and she was also in a relationship with a man that I didn't really particularly like either. So that was made it hard because it was very triggering for her to still be in the same relationship she was in, 10.
It was the same man.
No, not same man, the same type of man.
Oh, the same kind of, okay. So, okay, you're probably being triggered or having memories of when you were 5. Well, 3, 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I know there's going to be people that listen to this story and it's like, okay, typical teenager. You're angry, so you want to leave, and then you do, and you look back and it's like, oh, life was better over there. I want all of those things again. But I hope that, people watching this or listening to this can move past some of that, because I know how people think about teenagers, and I can hear in this story it's going to be typical teenager stuff. But it doesn't sound like you were searching for a different life or upset about what they had provided you. You were searching for your mom and for a connection and probably for a love that you really hadn't felt. Sure, they took care of you and they provided you a great life and you were able to do all of these things and you had your own room and they had money and life was good if we're talking about material things, but sounds like love and connection wasn't there in the way that you needed it.
They are warm and fuzzy. They are now that they have grandkids. But with me, they were,
Yep.
they're not one to lay down on the couch much. They're not one to, why are you crying? What you're crying? What are we crying for? Yeah, and their one language is, you have what you need. You have what you need and more. Here's money, here's cars, here's purses, here's, travel to this thing for this dance competition or this volleyball camp or this basketball camp. Like, I got to do a lot of things. I didn't really have a curfew because I was old, they didn't really, not that they didn't care, but they were also older and they had lived through that. Like, they're just, I think the last one, they just kind of, you just get like whatever on the last kid, and I think that's what they were just kind of like whatever on the last kid.
Yeah. So it all ends up working out. Go ahead.
Right. And I wouldn't say I was a bad kid. Like, I never had a curfew. I didn't, go out. I wasn't drinking and partying, none of that. Because I was too busy. But they were cuddly and soft and warm and tradition of let's bake cinnamon rolls here and do this. And it wasn't, it just wasn't warm and fuzzy like I needed and wanted.
Okay. So 2 questions.
Yeah.
What was the relationship like when you called? I know you called them, said you want to go back. You needed to apologize. You did. You got back. What was the relationship after you got back like? And now that you're an adult with your own child and your own family and can look back on a lot of this with adult eyes, not teenage eyes and, in your heart too. What's the relationship like today?
Yeah. So I got back and it was like nothing happened. They're also parents and families that just sweep things under the rug and they don't really talk about.
You just jumped right back in after you apologized. Nothing else needed to be said.
Yep.
Okay.
Literally. No therapy.
Maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad.
I think I think it still holds I still hold some resentment today.
Okay.
I felt like I had to conform. I had to be this perfect girl growing up and I had to have my hair perfect and my skin perfect and my grades perfect. And I had to be this person that wasn't truly myself. And so the relationship today, it's stable. I've had to do a lot of therapy. knowing that they're never going to change. And they don't remember things the same way I do. They don't see the same things I do in terms of like political views, traveling, career. I don't feel like I've ever been supported in the things that I like and I want to do. Um, so that's been very hard because as a mom myself, I want him to have his relationship with his grandparents. But then also too, at what point do I put the boundary in place of like, hey, you did this to me as a kid. I don't want the same thing for him. I don't know. It's just hard. It's stable now because I have to work really hard at putting up boundaries, keeping them at arm's length. They don't really know a lot what's going on in my life, and I keep it that way just so there's no judgment because I get judged quite a bit. I get asked a lot of passive aggressive, judgmental questions and makes me feel like shit. And so the less I share, the less I talk to them, the less it's just surface level with them right now.
Yeah. What would be the things that you don't want them to do to your son, or what are you protecting like him from?
Judgment, shame,
Okay.
guilt.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And those are all things you felt growing up,
absolutely.
or you experienced growing up.
And I still experience those from them to
Okay.
this day. Yep. The last.
You brought up career. Are you not in a career that they would approve of or that they want you in?
No, I was living in Hollywood, being a personal assistant. They thought that was like, oh, you're out there just playing around. You're out there just playing around. And then I became a teacher. Oh, God, why would anybody want to be a teacher? Oh, that's, teachers are, and then which I love teachers, shout out to teachers.
Yeah.
And then I got my master's and became a therapist counselor. And it's funny because they took me to one when I was little, but they don't really believe in it. Why would somebody need to, I think I made the comment about, I have a lot of clients during Christmas break because people need to process Uncle Larry being an alcoholic. I think I made the joke about something. And why would somebody need to process that? What does that even, just grit your teeth and go on? And why does anybody, or when somebody does something outlandish, they don't understand that mental health could play a part. I don't know. And just, so they don't.
Yeah. They thought it was mental health when you did something outlandish as a teenager and had you committed.
Absolutely. So then now turning around and come full circle for me to become a therapist and work through all my, trials and tribulations and come out on the other side. I don't know. But I was always told, what is there to be anxious about? What is there to be depressed about?
I mean, the first 5 years of your life can make up for all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've given you such a good life and you get whatever you want. Why isn't that good enough?
Oh, they thought what they did for you erased what you experienced before you got with them.
Mm-hmm. And then I always thought they were the problem and I blamed them for everything, particularly her, Aunt Patty.
Did you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also, too, I pointed out, like, I was the kid that always talked back. I sassed back, or I pointed out the flaws. I pointed out the wrong. Well, why did you say this, but you actually meant this? She did not like that.
Yeah.
Or, her contradictions or her hypocrisy. She did not like.
Did you have a relationship with their older children? Are you like a little sister to them, or were you just the girl that came in later?
I think I
her
would.
cousin?
I called them my older sisters. They're
Okay.
my cousins, second cousins. But yes, so the oldest one, I think she's in her late 40s. Kimberly, love her. She has a daughter who's 21. I'm closer with her daughter, with her 21-year-old daughter, than I.
We all are closer in age, right?
Yeah, I'm 33. So I'm like literally
Okay, you're kind of in between them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Rebecca, she always lived in Chicago, lived in the big city, and just moved back recently. And then Lincoln was their youngest son. I've not really been super close with him, but with his wife, I've been close with.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say like super close. We're not like we don't text on the daily. We call maybe each other like once a month, or we'll send each other like a link to an article. I am out of all three of the kids, I'm closest with Kimberly, their oldest one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do they all have a good relationship with their mom?
No comment.
No comment. Got it. Okay. We will move forward. That's not your story. I'm just going to try to relate some of that, but you do not have to
No,
share some
I will
story.
share the advice that they give me. I can
Okay.
share that.
Curious.
So Kimberly, she was in the birthing room with me. She's a nurse, and right now she's some like head honcho at the hospital that she works at too. So, but anyway, she let's just say she has very strong boundaries,
Okay.
and she's just like she's very chill. She's like, I don't let it bother me. I don't listen to her. I don't like just don't let things bother you. Like stop engaging, stop letting just that's always her advice. Stop engaging, stop letting things bother you. Live your own life, go be happy. And she did tell me one thing she did say, because it was during COVID, during the Black Lives Matter movement and George Floyd, and I had a really big argument with my family then about it. They're MAGA, by the way. So
Right.
I asked her, I was like, what do you think would this, does this text sound okay for her to come to therapy with me? And she's like, don't even bother. Therapy will not help. She's like, you need to go and process that and work through that, but it won't help. And then the middle one, Rebecca, she's like, why do you let her talk to you like that? Like, oh, whatever. And she's just kind of la-di-da-di-da in her own world a lot of the time, too. So, and she, I think that it's a good relationship she has with her. And then Lincoln, again, boundaries. He's the one that the best piece of advice I got from him was learn what to say to her. He's like, don't lie, but learn what to say.
Yeah.
So that's all the advice I've gotten from them. So I think that they know.
Okay.
So,
So there's support there. That's really what I was wondering is what
yes,
is that like? Are you just like an anomaly or not? But you have support from them.
I do have support from them. Yes. And they don't really engage in the behavior where I'm like, I will engage. I will correct. I will engage.
Okay.
I'm the one that's me. And just like,
They've
yeah,
learned to stop stressing themselves out
yes,
over something they can't change, and maybe you still have the heart to try to change it, or you still desire something different.
I have hope that something different will come out of this. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they clearly don't. They just learn how to move through it.
Absolutely.
Well, I admire your hope. I do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. It's hard. When when you have the experience that you have, and it's almost like you have this opportunity to have two mothers and both of them fail you. But then you see and you have the relationship with your birth mom that is getting better as she grows and as she's grown up and as she is taking care of herself. Is you want the same thing with the other one.
Yes.
You want to see change and growth in a better relationship because you do have it here. Why can't you have it here?
Yes. Absolutely. I'm like, here's what therapy is, and here's what me living, I'm the only one besides Rebecca that has lived outside of Ringgold County where we grew up. They travel maybe once a year, once every 3, 4, 5 years. And so I want them to see my life. I want them to see, I bought a home and sold another home and had a baby. And I have, I have a sleeve of tattoos now. They don't understand that. And they didn't understand, why I decided to wear my hair in an afro for, 6 years or my curls. I just want them to accept and understand who I
Yeah.
am.
And see you for who you are and not who they want you to be.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a story of so many daughters. It's
So many. Yes.
oh, okay. How are you feeling? I know you got emotional telling some of that. I appreciate you trusting me to share your story with. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I was, nervous, as I said before we started recording. I was like, I'm a little nervous. I think because there's some parts of me that are not healed where I feel like I can be authentic and I know I'm going to be judged for some of the things that I say or how I feel regarding the relationship with both mothers, with Dawn, my biological mom, and Patty. And so I'm nervous about the feedback, about the questions, but then I have to remember, like, this is my reality, this is my story, this is how I saw things, and that's how I see things, and this is how I felt. And I have to remember that nobody can take that away from me. And how they feel is on them and not on me and not my responsibility anymore.
Right. And your experience is yours. No one gets to decide if it was enough or wasn't enough, or if you were, I don't know, a bratty teenager or what. Nobody gets to make those decisions or assumptions for you. You experienced what you did, and it created whatever it created inside of you. So, and I say that to say, like, we can't assign one event as a traumatic event. So I can't say what you experienced inside of the home with your birth mom was traumatic. You have to decide if that was traumatic. And so for you, it probably was. And so what you experienced and how it landed for you is what created the trajectory of your life. It's what created what you desired and what you hoped for and what you needed from moms and mother figures. And we all want and need kind of the same things, but it doesn't always need to present the same. So, no one gets to decide what that is.
Yeah.
So I hope that you don't worry about judgment from your story because it's yours. And just because it's not what somebody else would have wanted or needed, and maybe somebody would have been totally happy with the life that they got to have with your aunt and uncle, that's not what you needed. And we don't get to decide what that is.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely.
Is there anything that you want to leave the listener with?
Yeah. Circling back to hope. It's still, you can still have hope. Again, your story, it's your story. And, I think the best thing you can do is focus on yourself and be true to who you are. And, like I mentioned before, is like nobody can take that away from you. And no one else's feelings, reactions are your responsibility anymore. And that could be super hard as being the eldest daughter. And yeah, and I think, going through all these trials and tribulations and traumatic experiences, you can still have a beautiful life. Create this beautiful life that you want to create.
Yeah.
So,
I read on social media, maybe this will land on your heart in the way that I hope it does. And then also the listeners kind of following up with what you just said, that you can have a beautiful life. This woman wrote on social media that she finally got the mother-daughter relationship that she hoped for and desired for. She just had to become the mom.
I love that. Absolutely. What I'm trying to create with my son.
So you can have it. It just may be a different role this time.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.